Greetings, metalheads. Welcome to another edition of the Friday 13th YouTube channel. Today, you're going to be watching an interview with a Dutch band called Sacrosanct, who just released their new album called Kidron on Raw Records. Now, this is a fantastic album, the band's fifth album. Check it out. So, I want to thank Randy for doing this interview, and I also want to thank Monica for setting up this interview. Thanks for watching, metalheads. Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments. Thanks for watching, and please share social media. Hi, Randy.
Jason, hi.
How are you?
Thank you, I'm fine.
Yeah, you see, we've got two similar backdrops.
Yeah, nice shirt and nice backdrop, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Randy, sir, we're talking to Randy from Sacrosanct. Welcome to the Friday 13th YouTube channel, my friend.
Thank you.
So we're going to ask you some warm-up questions first, Randy. I always ask musicians the same sort of like warm-up questions. So basically, I'm going to ask you, when did you learn to play an instrument, and was guitar your first instrument, or did you learn another instrument first?
Honestly, I think I had my first guitar at the age of 2. These children guitars. But honestly, to get it more serious, I think it was between 10 and 12 or something. I'm not sure, because I started playing acoustic guitar and then switched to electric guitar. Yeah, yes, I had some lessons and accord playing and stuff like that, but chord progressions. But honestly, I'm not good in it. So I did it more, yeah, self-taught, you know. I was just listening to music and then trying to play it on guitar, and that was much easier for me, to be honest. And I think a serious or more or less serious playing, I think I started maybe with 13, 14, because when we recorded Maleficarum with Pestilence, or let's say better, the demos that we recorded, I think 2 years before that, I think I played 1.5 years seriously or something. It was quite hard stuff to play for me. Honestly, of course it was.
So you learned acoustic guitar was your first guitar. Did you learn classical music? Was that your first?
Not really.
Guitar? No.
I directly started with rock, and from rock on, then the more heavier stuff as well.
So what was your first guitar? Can you remember your first guitar, and do you still own it?
Yeah, I think it was a Strat, but I don't know the brand, to be honest.
You never kept it.
Some Strat copy or something like that.
So you still don't have the guitar. You've got rid of it many years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of strange, because you would have thought anybody who was going to be a professional musician like yourself would hang on to the first instrument just to say, this is what started me off.
I'm honestly not a guy who's living in the past, to be honest. So I had, after that I had a Washburn, I think, and one or two. Then I had a self-built guitar, a Flying B. I didn't keep them, to be honest. I sold them and bought some other stuff. It's mostly not at that time. It was not, the money was not there in that amount. So I had a really cheap amp, I think, and the distortion came to crank it up. You know, it was not really a tube distortion. It was simple a distortion by don't make it so loud, because it's on 11 already.
Bit of a Spinal Tap then, up to 11.
Yeah, exactly. I thought on that. And later I got inspired by Possessed, by the picture on the back side of the seven churches, with these Marshall stacks. You know that?
Yeah.
You remember? And I was totally in these Marshall stacks, and then I bought one of these.
Oh, and so who's your guitar influences? Which guitarists have inspired you?
I'm playing guitar due to Ace Frehley, honestly. Yeah. He was the guy who inspired me most, to be honest. I think not that he inspired me in a way that I'm trying to play like him, but he was the guy that he inspired me to grab the guitar over and over again, you know.
Okay.
And later, I really love Marty Friedman. He's for me is one of the most outstanding
Is that when
artists.
he was with Cacophony or Hawaii?
Yeah, amazing stuff. Um, and later the Marty Friedman solo albums. Dragon's Kiss is for me one of the most important albums without music, yeah, without vocals, just
Yeah.
music and just guitar and guitar melodies and harmonies, and with Jason Becker, it's so amazing. I still love it, and yeah. But I don't think that we hear any influences on that. To be serious, he's too good.
So you didn't have any influences like Yngwie Malmsteen, Yuli John Roth, Glenn Tipton, KK Downing, any of those guys?
Yeah, of course. I really enjoy listening to all these, yeah, Maiden and Judas Priest twin guitar stuffs, and later, of course, Exodus, because they were much more heavy.
Yeah.
And that inspired us a lot too, of course. All these twin guitar heroes, they're mostly two heroes, and they are all amazing, especially the UK UK bands, New Wave of
Yeah.
British Heavy Metal.
So what was your very first band then, Randy, before Pestilence?
It was a band with the name Lucifera.
Sorry?
With the name Lucifera.
Oh, right. Yeah, I noticed. Did you do any demos or anything, any albums or?
Yeah, there's a four-track demo, I think. And one of my really old friends did I think he did 30 copies of that and gave them all his friends. I don't know what he did with that, because he really had one of these demos and I didn't, to be honest.
Do you still own a copy?
Yeah, I received a copy from him.
Right. So what style of music was it? Was it thrash? Because it sounds kind of thrashy.
No, it was not real thrash. It was more heavy metal, heavy metal, I think. And yeah, for us it were really the first tryouts. It was not really serious, but yeah, we had. I think we all played a bit of guitar, drums, and whatever of our instruments. It was not
Yeah.
serious. It was just a tryout, not more.
I mean, you've been in quite a few. I mean, you've been in quite a few bands, haven't you? Is it Submission was another band you was in?
Yes, yeah, Submission was, yeah, we hope that it would maybe more serious, to be honest. And yeah, we recorded an album and we never put it out because the label shut down during our recordings. So
Which label was that? Which label?
We Bite Records.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
you
I
know,
remember those because he used to have Ludicrist and Erosion
it
and other like a hardcore band.
was more these, exactly hardcore stuff. And they signed Submission. It was funny, yeah, but without Martin van Roon, because Martin was the first vocalist on it for Submission, and later a guy here from the area.
Oh wow, that's a shame. So it's never been released to this day.
No.
Wow.
I posted, I think, a picture on my account, on my social media account, Facebook account, because I received MP3 stick, and with all these tracks on it, with not only the tracks, not only the mix, but also all stems, all separate tracks, and maybe we will do with it someday. I don't know.
I mean, there's a record company in
let's see.
Florida. There's a record company in Florida called Dive Bomb Records. They tend to do a lot of old releases. Maybe you should
Yeah, I know them.
contact those guys.
It's Matt, I think.
Yeah, it's Matt. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know him
Yeah,
very
maybe
well.
you should contact him. So, Pestilence. How many demos did you do with Pestilence? Are you the actual original guitarist? Because a lot of people will be interested to know your involvement with Pestilence back in the early days.
We did two demos, the
Yeah.
Dysentery and the Penance demo.
Right.
And sorry, what was the question about that?
So, what involvement with Pestilence was you back in the early days? Are you the original guitarist? Was you the original guitar
Yes,
player?
yes. Pat and Christian founded Pestilence, to be honest. No
Right.
matter what anybody else is saying, Christian is later joined Asphyx as vocalist and bass player. and I think he did one of the first demos for Asphyx with Asphyx. Yeah, and we three started the band, and later Marco came, and even Gerrit, who's now playing in Sacrosanct. I think he did the first 1 or 2 live gigs on bass. He joined us on bass. So yeah, but we three did form Pestilence, and yeah, of course, I did quite a lot in at that time because I was quite good connected in terms of tape trading and stuff like that. So I sent out all these demos and did a lot.
I never got one.
Yeah, I also had some nice contacts to Roadrunner via, I think, Rock Hard here in Germany and the Teutonic Invasion sampler. Great, yeah.
So it's like, looking back at the first album, what great out songs on that album do you really like? What's your favorites from the first Pestilence album?
Oh, that's hard to say. I like them all, almost, I think. Yeah, and we really had a good time recording them, writing them. I think it was different compared to the rest of the back catalog of Pestilence. So maybe subordinate to the Domination, but I also like Extreme Unction because it's really, really fast. Parasite, yeah, and Tropomorphia, the intro, and I like them all, honestly.
So why did you leave the band? Was it just different musical differences?
Yes, yeah. I think that's the best description for this because yeah, and honestly, we Pat and I didn't have any issues with each other, but maybe later because due to leaving Pestilence, yeah, of course. Then maybe one thing came to another, and we were young at that time, so but no hard feelings from my side. I think it was a good decision because we decided to go more into the direction of death metal, but Consuming Impulse is much more, in my opinion, than just death metal. It's an amazing album, so yeah. But I think, as I said in the beginning, I'm not the guy who's looking back that much.
No.
I'm happy when the guys are happy, and we did with Kidron did a great new album, so everything is fine.
So you formed in 1988 Sacrosanct. So what does the name mean? And what other names did you have for the band?
Sacrosanct, what it means?
Yeah.
I'm not sure because it's an English and a German word, but most of the Germans don't know Sacrosanct because it's just not with a C, just with a K. It's something like in German it's Heiligtum, but I don't know what the English word for is. Let me please check.
Be interested to know. I mean, what other names did you have besides?
It's something like more like sanctuary stuff like that. It's really a very special thing. So and that's what it is still for me.
So what other names did you have, Randy, besides Sacrosanct? What other names did come to mind for the band?
Before we have
before you had the name Sacrosanct, what other names did you think about calling the band?
I don't know. It's simply to yeah. I cannot say that. I simply do not remember.
Okay, I mean, I've been listening to the first album. Truth is what is. It kind of reminds me, listening to the music, kind of cross between Metallica and Master of Puppets, and a German band called Despair.
Ah, okay. I thought you would say Death Row, but
well, yeah, Death Row. Yeah, they were great. They were a great band as well. But yeah, Despair, a little bit Despair in there. The very first albums. You know, how would you describe your music? Because you certainly progressed from the very first albums to what you are now.
Yeah. It's cool mixture because that you name Despair is a German band, Metallica is one of the biggest American metal bands. So yeah, honestly, I personally was not inspired by German metal bands. I mostly were listening to bands like as I said before, yeah, of course, I started maybe the more harder after Kiss. I think Venom with black metal, Motorhead, Slayer, Show No Mercy. Then all these bands like Death, Possessed, Obituary, all these death metal stuff. And I always liked the technical view, the technical part of their music, especially in Death. It was amazing because they also developed to a more technical death metal band after starting with Mantas, and before that even that, but starting with Scream Bloody Gore and then to Human or whatever. It was a totally different band, but still they sounded unique somehow. But back to Truth Is What Is. Yeah, I think it's maybe it's a mixture because we started in Pestilence doing thrash riffs and did something special, and maybe I developed as a guitar player, and that's still the red thread, I think, because when we write music, when we write a riff, and even if people say it's power metal today, I think we sound special, we sound different, we sound not like a German power band. I think we write music in a different way. We have a different DNA with us, and I think that's the biggest difference. And Truth Is What Is, I think, was trying to express more and more not difficult music, but we decided to use many riffs. We just think, let's write this track, and if it has 30 riffs, it's fine. If it's just 10, it's also fine. I think over the time we learned to reduce ourselves a bit more, and at the same time don't lose something special. Don't lose to make things still interesting. If you have more than 10 listenings, you will always find new parts or new details in the music. And I think that was something we had from Truth Is What from the early beginning on, but maybe we compensated with more riffs to make it a bit more complex, And on the other hand, it was a different style of songwriting. We were young. That is one thing, but also we met almost every week in the rehearsal space. And today I'm sitting here in my home studio, and when I have an idea, I try to record it. Not maybe 100% professional. It could be mobile recording, whatever, just to get the idea,
Yeah.
And so I think Truth Is What Is was quite complex in terms of riffing, and we reduced it when we changed to recesses a bit. But maybe that's the next question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, how do you see each album as a progression until you decided to go progressive, like power metal, which you have done in the last two albums? How do you see each album as a progression, moving away from the technical thrash to where you are now?
It was. And after Truth Is What Is, and maybe this story is not really well known, because as we did the remastering, we put 2 tracks on it, Mortal Remains and what was the other track? Quarantine. And as you maybe know, they were not on the original recording of Recesses for the Depraved. And these 2 tracks were the first tracks we have written for Recesses for the Depraved, but could not use these due to legal problems, because they were because we signed them to another company, so we were not allowed to use these tracks. But later on we did, and so we started over new, and we then wrote all the Recesses tracks. And they turned out a bit different, because Quarantine and Mortal Remains started to be more melodic. Even we tried more the vocals a bit more to make them more melodic at that point. That was the idea. And later we switched that. We turned that a bit down, and it was still thrashy, but it was also Recesses really had a special sound, and it was I think it's still thrash, but it's much darker than Truth Is What Is, and I think that's still our way to sound a bit more, maybe not dark, but more melancholic, whatever you like to say. But and then I think the whole thrash scene at that time was struggling a bit because we heard everything or at least we thought we heard everything at that point, and so it was our idea to slow down things. There was also a new wave of metal or doom metal with more growling, extreme vocals like "My Dying Bride" and what you name it. But we said, okay, we can do that with all these vocals, but let's try it with the singer. How will the song sound with a real singer? And yeah, I think it was fair enough not to force somebody singing like a real vocalist, because Michel is an amazing thrash vocalist, and I think I think he's really doing well. And later he was singing in a Slayer cover band, and that's his voice, that's his music, and that fits perfectly. And then we decided to slow down the music and tried these new tracks with Colin, who later joined the band with his brother. And from there on, we also changed our style of writing music a lot, because we really worked on all these harmonies, and it was quite different to write a song for a thrash vocalist or a real vocalist. That I think that was the really the game changer for us in terms of writing music and in terms of playing music different. But still, we had some these thrashy riffs in there, or these thrashy influences, but also really melodic, and maybe even more Metallica influences. Not sure about that, but yeah, something like that.
I mean, you did the Necropolis album, which is more power metal, totally different style. It was a great album, you know. Was it a good sell for you, moving from a different direction?
Yeah, I think it was, picking up the red thread after 25 years, it's always different. And I just read a review of I don't know which band it was, and I think it doesn't matter, but they said something like, after 30 years repeating the stuff they did 30 years ago, and the whole review struggled about it. It was not good, to be honest. And I thought it's not a good idea, because I'm not the same person that I was 30 years ago, and I think it was time to pick up the red thread, but try something new. Try it with a new mascot in the back with the angel. And there are also 2 tracks on it with Clouds Obscured the Sun, for example, that we wrote for the 4th Sacrosanct album in 1993, but we never finished it. So I finished it on Necropolis. And so there are also influences from our planned 4th album in 1993. So it's not that far away from that, but I think it's maybe the different production, of course. And I think what also makes it different is Richard as a vocalist. And I think it would also sound totally different with a real drummer. When the Pain Still Lasts, for example, is the same guitar track, but with Max on vocals, with a different bass sound, and a complete recording with Jonas on drums, and it sounds completely different because it sounds more Kidron-like. And I think it's maybe these elements did it more sound like more power metal. And I think if it was maybe more heavy produced, more modern produced, because the bass sound on Kidron is totally different than the bass sound on Necropolis, and makes such a huge difference. And also the drumming is quite different. But I think it was really a good start. We had good reviews on it. Nobody expected something like this, maybe, but that was always, that's the same situation that we had in the past already, because I think nobody expected Tragic Intense after Recesses for the Depraved. So it's nothing changed at that point. But I think for us, it was a good beginning point again after 25 years.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the new album. So, Kindred. Max is an old friend of mine from his old band Morton, back in the day. So, I mean, me and Max know each other for quite some time. So, how did you hook up with Max? Because he lives in Russia, doesn't he? Is it Russia, or is Russian ancestry or something? Is that correct?
Sorry,
is it from Russia, Max, originally?
No, he's Ukrainian.
Ukrainian, yeah. So I knew he was way out that way somewhere. So how did you hook up with Max?
Yeah, I sent a message to Max, I think it was 2016, because Max already did all of the remasters and he also did the production of Necropolis.
Okay.
So it's quite a long cooperation we have there. And in 2016, I was looking for a singer on YouTube, and I found him playing guitar and reviewing a guitar amp, a Framus guitar amp, one of these German company. They also do guitars or did guitar. I think they still exist. He did this for his studio channel for Morton Studios, and I was simply blown away because he just had this riffing and he was singing along with it and was amazing. And from there on, I also listened to all this Morton stuff, but I was looking for a vocalist and we found a producer because in first I didn't understand that he also has a studio. So that was a good thing too. And from there on, I sent him all the stuff, and from there on, we had our cooperation, and we got good friends too, because he loves cats, I love cats, and we are always at chat. We chat a lot at that time, he did the production of Necropolis, and he's really an amazing producer, and and then we started working on Kidron. And that's another different story, because from there on, as you maybe know, Keith Harrison played bass on Necropolis, and he really had some private issues at that time. And I said, go concentrate on this because it's really important. There are health issues and whatever it is, concentrate on your private stuff. And he was not able to play on Kidron, to play any tunes at that time, to be honest. So and Max at that point jumped in as a bass player. He joined the band, not officially, but he played bass on the album. And at that time, and as Rich was leaving the band, we directly found Ron. With Ron, we did the first recordings of Kidron. At that time, the title of the album was different. I think
What was the title of the album originally?
The first title I had in mind was 2020, to be honest. So and that also underlines the timeline we had in mind, because it was important for us to maybe release it in the best case in 2020 or 2021 or something like that. And then later it was Scars, but with it was a mixture of Scars and SARS, because the C was different there. And from there on, I skipped, because Ron left the band at the end of 2021, and we started the recordings completely again. Not the music, but all vocals and all lyric stuff, and a lot of the harmonies also changed, but not rhythmically, because it's the music. I think it's the most important thing there. But we worked a lot on it. Another year, almost, maybe 13 or 14 months. So we finished it, I think it was at the end of 2022, or the beginning 2023. I think Max did then the last masterings, I think in January or February 2023. And then it took another 1.5 years to sign the deal, to find a company, all these negotiations with Markus Voskin, who later signed us first for Fireflash, his own label, and later then for Reigning Phoenix Music, Raw Records.
Okay, then so Kidron, who came up? What does Kidron mean to you? What's the title mean?
Yeah, to be honest, I came across Kidron when I Googled Gethsemane because this track was the most inspiring aspect, naming the album Kidron. And when you Google Gethsemane, you think you come quite across the Last Supper, Jesus' last days on earth. Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley from Jerusalem to the Mount of Olives and to the Garden of Gethsemane. So that was the first time I read Kidron Valley, and I liked I think the whole story of it. His last days have many parallels to Gethsemane, to the lyrics of Gethsemane. And that was one thing. The other thing was because Kidron Valley is in between Jerusalem and the Mount of Olives, and the people of Jerusalem were not able to bury their people in the city, so they went up to the Mount of Olives, and there was more or less a necropolis later because they buried all their dead people there on the Mount of Olives. That was the other thing, because we had this red thread to Necropolis that I really liked. Yeah, and the third thing is that maybe you know that it was Kidron Valley was once fertile, very with water and everything, and today it's there's no water, there's nothing, and we are all talking about these climate debate and something like that. So it's still an actual topic. So there were different reasons because that we thought that Kidron was a great name, and it has a high recognition value.
A great album cover.
Yeah, the cover, I think Kidron too, because it's simple. You can remind that somehow, and I think it's a completely new title. It's not I like titles that most of the people never heard of.